So this is my second time introducing Angelo Letizia. He writes mainly speculative themed poetry and is currently a professor of education at Notre Dame College in Baltimore, Maryland. His true passion, however, is poetry. The Starry Devil and Other Unwanted Poems was his debut book of poetry, and Pilgrims of Infinity, his second. Angelo's work has also been published in a number of literary outlets, including Tales from the Moonlit Path, Bewildering Stories, The Atlantean Siren Call, Red Planet, AHF Magazine, Dissections, Fever of the Mind, Lothorian Poetry Journal, Bindweed Magazine, and Bowery Gothic, to name a few. Anyway, today Angelo is reading from his book, We Are the Winding Down. So, Candace, did you have a few words you wanted to say first?
Yes, I'm just very, very, very pleased, of course, to be publishing yet another book by the great Angelo Letizia. His poetry is just quite amazing. It takes you to another realm of existence while still having your feet firmly planted on earth. So I'm really looking forward to hearing that. And of course, looking forward to Kaylie's Reflecting the Sky, because I haven't had any of her books published before. It's a debut book for us, and it's very good also. So we've got two very lovely writers here today that are going to share their minds with us, and that's good for us.
All right, so Angelo, you're up.
So I'd like it to be, I'm just going to read, I have about 50 in here, but I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to kind of go through and read what I think are the better ones. But as I'm going through, please stop me with a question if you have a question. I like interaction. I'm a teacher by nature, so I really do like interaction. I mean, if the line's weird or you want clarification on something, please stop me. Let's have a discussion. Or if you disagree with something. So yeah, the title is We Are the Winding Down, and just quickly on where this comes from. As Candace mentioned, as Carol mentioned, I'm a professor. So I'm a professor of education. So I do have to do a lot of reading, obviously, for my job, but those theories and ideas that I read about filter into my poetry, and I can do a lot of things in my poems that I can't do in my, in my professorship, right? I have to be academic and I have to cite things and but here I can kind of just let my mind run wild. But one of the themes that I've been kind of pondering about, and that's what this is about, is, when does a society know when it's in decline? That's kind of one of the ideas of the book, right? So I studied a lot of history, thinking about, Rome or, Great Britain or something. When does a society, does it know when it's coming to an end? Does it know when it's failing? So that's kind of one of the themes of it. And so I'm not going to read the whole introduction, but I just want to read a little bit of it just to kind of frame this some more. So the book is about failure, but not a personal failure. It's about failure in an existential sense. What does it mean for people or society to fail? If a society does fail, how long does it take? Do its people know they are failing? Did the Romans know they were in decline? What constitutes a failure? The other thing too is a lot of people had said the world is ending, right? Ever since Jesus died, a lot of people had said, hey, the world's going to end. The world's going to end. So I don't want to just be one of those people, right? So the notion of the notion in this book is not so much that some Armageddon is going to come and it's time to end, but we still can't seem to get out of our own way. There's a lot of things that we don't do right. There's a lot of things we could be doing a lot better. And so, it's a book about failure, and maybe that's what the end is. Maybe it's us failing to clothe and feed and house people and just to make a better society, which we definitely could. We have with in our means, but we just never seem to be able to get out of our own way. So not a very positive thing, I know. But so this is the first poem. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. This is the first poem, and it's called Here at the End. There is only, and ever was only, one way, and that is through the stone, through the concrete, through the steel, through the electrical current, through the glass, through the blood, and arriving here, at this place, at this moment in time. In the beginning, there was nothing, but always with the possibility of something. So it was never nothing. Nothing needed to make that possibility extinct in order to truly be nothing. The possibility of something is teeth, is metal and eyebrows and concrete. The possibility of something is entropy, and it spends itself until nothing is nothing. We are the winding down. We are the result. We are the powder and crumbs, the ash, the embers on the ground. We are the groans. It won't be long now, I hope. So that was the first poem called Here at the End. So nice pessimistic way to start the book off. Another real sunshiny one, Whimper. There are only a few workers now, hunched over in offices. Those buildings become the only support for the aging universe. The few send emails and write reports to keep busy, but no one reads them. The employees eat lunch in small groups, but rarely converse. They go home, watch black and white reruns on wood panel televisions, their reward for surviving the smoke and false advertising. So hopefully everybody can hear. This poem, I wrote this poem about 20 years ago, the one I'm reading now. And so it's interesting because sometimes you read stuff that you wrote a long time ago and it fits. So I felt like it fit with this collection, even though it's older. I wrote this in 2003. It's called A Room in the Sun. There is a room in the sun, a bed and a rug on fire. There is a closet in the moon, and all my vacuums are stacked there. Dusty things that aborted my blood, lifted it straight from the skull, and bed sheets and bathroom floor. And now this cosmic house suits me well. A planetary existence, revolving suns and meteors seen through a telescope, in cold space where I freeze to particles, in frozen hairs above the lip, dancing in silence. Coordinated movements of planets, celestial patterns that have me fixed in this instant for eternity, in one forgotten moment in a classroom, with a dull pencil, tallying on loose leaf, the motion of the snow, as if my skin was shredded and bleached to confetti leaflets, sprinkled to earth from an urn in the sky I knew so well. This one is called Star Wax. I failed to extinguish the stars again, those pitiless replicas, which burn indifferently to all our suffering. They are light years away, but jealously drip their crooked wax into coffee, sewers, and dreams. That celestial paste, however, holds the universe together, silently, and against all known logic. Even logic joins the heart and the star. Blood star wax runs through solar veins. I want to hate them, but how can I hate my own circulatory system? Stars circulate in this blood, where little doors are carved into the black of the universe on a summer night, for me to crawl through, squeeze through the matter and be born into something new and far away, something that smells of rain and paint and ideas that I cannot name.
So now it's my pleasure to introduce Kaylie Rose. Kaylie is a poet by heart and has been writing in prose since the age of 10, when her 5th grade teacher read her poem, The Pond, to her class. She has also published a poem entitled Shadow on the Snow in a poetry collection called Circular Whispers. She lives with her son and 3 cats in a small town in Pennsylvania. Over to you, Kaylie.
Hi there.
Hello.
I loved Angelo's poetry. When I heard of it, his poetry is very cerebral. I like that there's 2 poets for this because there's so many different styles and we can hear the different styles of poetry. My poetry is much more sort of whimsical and nostalgic. I always tend to go back into my childhood with my poetry, so that's kind of where they come from. But this book is a little bit of a hodgepodge. It actually spans 17 years worth of my poetry. So it's interesting that different poems are different kind of seasons in my life that I was kind of trying to make sense of the crazy, wonderful, heart-wrenching world that I found myself in. But I'll go ahead and start on Nigh on a Windy Hill. Nigh on a windy hill, just a stone's throw from my place, a lone tire swing sways. Slowly creaks the tired branch that holds the rope whose hemp has softened in the sun. Worn and brittle it frays in the silent air. It has seen its share of summers, been buffered by enough seasons to know their breadth, to remember childhood laughter now as fading memories. The summer days had been as golden as honey, sweeter still than that amber flow, and the breeze as smooth as silk, seasoned by the pollen of 1,000 stars, their fragile petals nestled among the blades of verdant grass, the blues, the yellows, the reds, now faded with the gray of time. The flutter of a little girl's dress, her knees dimpled knobs pumping along the eyelet hem, her shoes of softened leather, molded and supple from hours of lazy play. Pictures in the sky, castles made of clouds, dreams of butterflies and rainbows. They were capering ponies that pranced about our minds like wild stallions, neon and strong, bigger than the world. So grand, so consuming, so full of delight and wonder, the skies swallowed us up and bore us on bluebird wings. The sky a dusty copper above the melting fire of the sun. The air tasted like flowers, the grass like heat. The wood of the fence railings nodded in the last of the summer's rays, faded and softly aged for many such lazy days. Piano lessons in the parlor, the tinkling notes fluttering through the opened windows, brushing back the curtains in their soft wake. My window overlooking the gardens, the tree lines softening the white heat of the now departing sun. And my eyes have now seen the dawn and dusk of many thousand days. The air tastes like smoke as change blows its way past with its broom of autumn breeze. When I look at the clouds now, I swallow the sky. And somewhere in that lonely, endless space within me is you. Love was far more complicated than my dreams would allow. And every word is powerless to capture the illusion that was my awakening, that nothing will ever again be as simple as those clouds or the dandelion seeds drifting on the wind on those long ago summer days. All right, that was one. The next one, I have a lot of trees in my poetry. I've noticed I do like trees. I'm kind of fascinated by trees. Maybe because they have a history to them, and I love history and time. It's a big common denominator in my poetry. This next one is called Tree on a Hill. As the sky drips gray-blue off your knobbly branches, you cry into the clouds, jagging the fluffy edges and dashing the wisps to pieces. You reach up as your toes dive deep, remembering decades and hollow years, the brightness, the shadows, the sadness, the joy of life as winter melted into melody, birdsong among your branches. Edging nearer to the horizon as light slips below the stars, drawn to the fleeting warmth, gradually covered in night's blue shadows, drooping softly into the turf and darkness. Cold twigs uncurling slowly as the sun awakes, tickles your fingertips with golden hope, thaws the night from within toughened skin, until dawn blazes brightly and greets you first, and you shower the shadows down upon the dappled dew. Okay, the next one I wanted to read for you is called Scarecrow, and this is actually probably the oldest one in the book. It's about 17 years old. It was in a very difficult season in life where you can almost feel like you're not a real person. So I wrote a poem about a scarecrow. It has actually a reference to T.S. Eliot's Hollow Men in here. So let me see if you can spot it while I'm reading. All right, Scarecrow. Walking along a deserted path, weed overgrown the grass on either side, cold water pressing in from the river nearby, laying a hand on my chest as though to contain the struggling beat, limbs as numbed as the sticks and straw, the black, lifeless eyes of the scarecrow. Crows make their feet dance, taunt with their laughter, just beyond your fixed vision. Could you but uproot the stakes that hold your feet, raise a raggedy arm that would blow in the wind, still as a comical statue, puppet of comic facade, stitched up by twine and string, patched and frayed as so many broken places fray, you bleed out through gashes that no one has bothered to heal. You are the silent sentinel that watches over the golden waves of this summer sea, who watches the sunlit sky turn from blue to gold to olive green, then turn purple and sink behind the hills. You are the sky gazer who reflects the stars in your eyes and dreams of places beyond, while ever rooted and standing still, feet on the ground, head in the clouds. A word to utter would be a tease to the breeze, undulating the golden wheat and brushing your legs like feathers. A tear to cry would be to taste the rain that drops and bends the fair heads, makes them cower and hide their faces, streaming in the summer storm. A song to sing would be the whistle of wind gurgling the pond and whispering through the nearby branches. You are the hollow man, stuffed with innards far too inflammable to the fire of emotion, the storm of passion, or the chill of fear. But you bleed, and you fall in pieces that are tossed apart by the wind, gradually ripped apart and scattered to an unknown sky, an unknown day. What is it to you, the prick of a needle, the tear of your clothes, stitches scarring your face, your hands, your feet? Will they contain you forever? Or will they eventually burst as ripe as new corn and spill you out like an offering of gold coins onto the dusty ground? I have one here that another common theme in my poetry tends to be birds, which I do love animals, but I think with the poetry, it's much more about musing on the bird's perspective. Birds have this amazing perspective, you know, they're kind of high and they can kind of look down on what's happening. And I always have had daydreams of flying since I was a child. So this one is called Birds in the Courtyard. Harmless harbingers of the dawn, smoky night brushed away by the strides of ghostly wings. Congregating in the golden light of dawn, watching, waiting, staring with bated breath, the tension thick before that first voice, first laugh filters up from the streets. You assemble in a flock to cackle, to sing, or to weep. Like chattering children, you move and scurry once that fragile shell of morning breaks new. Until the footsteps draw near to reclaim, this courtyard of stone belongs to you, to wing and wind and sun and sky, and eventually ride the sunbeams back to sleep in lowly hollows beneath the moon. But this glory, this newness, this cool morning mist in that hushed hour before the world awakens, this belongs to the whisper of your wings, the fragile fluttering and jostling of silence in the crowd. The next one is called Sepia Tuned, and I believe at the time I was inspired by an old yellowed photograph that was showing wagons in it. All right, so this is Sepia Tune. I let my fingers dance over yellowed keys, though I know it is an imperfect tone, still it moves me. Faded light beams in through long broken glass, turns the dust into fairy dust, gold sparkles in a dream. Sepia-toned and faded, the world stares back at me. Memories, memories like the faded photographs stacked in a forgotten crate. Yellowed and ghostly, they dull the mind into a lovely, archaic dream. The tired piano follows my lazy fingers, paints a far-off melody in the air. Round again, back again, softly it grows, echoes from another time. Here and not here, should I wake or sleep, this flattened image of pale sky, of sun and sand and horse and rider, of duels and sienna skies. Tonics and tunics in blue bottle jars, intricate stitching in the last, herbs and haversacks and dry goods stores, candies lined up on the shelf, pistols and gun smoke and old music reels, the tired music box in my mind. Tack and post, light and decay, smoke rising from a cigar. Whiskey would cure any illness or dull the mind to its pain. Indians with brightly colored feathers and savage faces contained the deepest hearts, unfathomable to settlers' white minds. Savagery of will sparked depths of passion, no weaker, no more frightening than they. Into an unbroken wilderness the faded wagon tracks led, to fade, the ghostly inhabitants of this forgotten day. I play and I play, the melody singing its own melancholy, through the piano-struck chords so weary. Dust rises up like a mist in the night, sweeps the memories away. This one is called Aging. Flaccid skin and memories, wilting in the high noon sun. Youth long flown away on departed autumn wings. So impertinent and unkind time has become, leaving me far behind in winter's unforgiving flare. Gone and lost the vitality I once ignored, forgotten to all but this tired mind. What began in innocence, the clock has wound back again full circle. Is yesterday today, or today lost in yesterday? The moments blur and fade, then surface from the deep waters and flare. Sudden burst of clarity, then all recedes again like tides in the mist. How fleeting new flames flicker and waver in life's unrelenting gale. So my mind seeks to think of finer things, finer times and a kinder world, like the fresh blush of early morning as the red dawn stings the grass. How the nightingale sings, and the soft flap of barn owl's wings. Amber fields of fireflies, laughing and dancing in their flickering light. Sun-ripened grass drifting fragrant vines of scent across the air. Hickory smoke and cherry wood from a lazy embered pipe. Ornamental dishes lined up like ancient knights. Fluttering shadows strove their face, cast through open windows and billowing lace curtains. Old perfume, antiquated but loved, like rose petals tucked inside a scroll-top desk. Blue gas flames whooshing to kiss the cast iron skillet still warm from last tea kettle. Flour and buttermilk being washed from wizened hands. Hands that felt like tissue paper and sugar. As my own now, blue-veined and white, eyes that once looked on me with love, admired my youth and innocence. They are now reflected in, now become, my own, as I gaze upon little faces that smile back at me, as I once smiled up at hers.
That was a lovely one to end on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you both for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I just wanted to ask you a quick question about, you talked about history and time is kind of motivates you, or at least that's the shell in which you write your poetry. And I'm wondering about what I really read in this is the beauty of nature, as well as its reflecting back to us our own fragility. Do you want to comment a bit on that, or?
Sure. Nature is not eternal. Time affects it just like it does us, except that nature lasts longer than we do. It has a longer lifespan than we do. So as we go about our lives, nature kind of watches us and reflects who we are, but we also reflect the nature that is around us. It's just the whole cycle of time and the way that nature affects us emotionally. The cycle of life and time is just absolutely fascinating to me, and history, because we have our stories, but so does nature. Nature has a song that sings. I just never want to walk through a forest without seeing the trees and the birds, and because those things are really what matter, and our relationships and the people we love.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a beautiful collection which really honors nature. It sees nature deeply.
And as you said about reflecting back and forth, there was a song, and I forget, I'm not sure if it was Anne Murray, but it was called "As We Go Round and Round and Round in the Circle Game." I don't know, does anybody know who sang that song? It was a big hit once upon a time.
I'll have to check it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, you being a music lover, and I don't know if everyone knows, but she also sang and played in a band for a long time.
Yeah,
And
those were the days.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, a painter.
Yeah. Jack, a Jill of all trades.
Yes.
So, Angelo, thank you, Kaylie, so much. That was
Sure.
a beautiful reading. Angelo, are you there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Kaylie, that was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. The imagery, I just, with what Carol said about the nature, I felt it reminded me of the poems of Donald Hall. He's somebody I just discovered recently. He's pretty famous, so I just discovered him recently, but it reminded me of that, just these rich images, and I'd really like to read more. So congratulations. It was really phenomenal. That you did a fantastic job. It's awesome. And I caught the reference, the Hollow Man reference. When you
Yes.
said stuff, I caught it. I
I love
He's my
yes,
favorite poet ever. I
Mine
caught it.
too. Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So I got two that I want to read. One I wrote in the state of Pennsylvania, Kaylie, not that far from you. And it's called Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, which is a real place in Pennsylvania. We went camping and okay. A man built a little house on the riverbank where he drank the universe from a stream and blessed the sound with his eyes. He walked in mud and made craters of the earth, which vanished in the next rainstorm. This is now his sky, his rain, his currency. But the fish still do not give up their secrets, even when they leap up and momentarily break the back of the stream. There were dreams and cigar ashes, and now just the babbling cold God and wet, which owned the sights and ate the mud. This is a sovereign kingdom built on the mossy rocks and fishhooks, far away from logic. My other favorite poet, Kaylie, that was a reference to Dylan Thomas in there also. And then I have one more that I'll read, and then we can proceed. And this actually might be my favorite one that I've ever written. And I wrote it as I was going through Lowe's, as a department store, hardware store. It's called Rebuild the Messiah. At Lowe's, there are aisles stocked with disinfectants, various cleaners, bleaches, spray bottles, industrial solvents and air purifiers, fertilizers and concrete. All these things flower symmetrically in the rows, and shopping carts become like messiahs to deliver us from a terror as yet unknown. But terror grows, mutates into linoleum, and all the things you thought were safe and clean show the relentless evil, terror in the eyes of the pretty cashier and the rent-a-truck, in the soda bottles and lumber. It waits for us to name it. This one I think might be my favorite one that I've ever written, and I don't say that too often, but it's what I really like. So this is called Reverse Eschatology. There may be a secret in the rejected words, just like the birds with small beaks who cannot reach the nectar. There might be wisdom in the early deaths and needless car accidents, and a veritable Bible etched on the mobile home walls of an obese woman who died of heat death in Arizona. Anthems and instructions ring out from dead black boys in wasted water, from a young disabled woman in a wheelchair, and abandoned buildings in Baltimore whisper, and become the anvil of the universe to forge something new and sublime, a translucent jelly which has more potential than anything that has ever existed. Okay. This one's similar vein to the last one I just read. It's called Liminal Failures. What about the ones with small beaks that could not reach the nectar? Perhaps they are my brethren. The existential failures who died centuries ago. Metonymy of keratin, a hidden Pentecost with one resolution that gestates during the centuries and glistens like scaly reminders of fish with feet. Drink to your swollen appendix and starve the hungry, because these flops are liminal, like whiskey and oracles, a holding environment which is not one thing or the other. This is called Harbors Become Pathogens. Harbors become pathogens. Divorce the inscription from the Exodus, and sow a voyage without words. We are the weary savages dying in a foreign land we still call home. A refraction of the grotesque seems logical now, as it glimmers in the cinders of what we used to love. Cinders like gods, shoveled over in despair. This one is a little different. I'm going to read it. I wrote this in college, so just like Kaylie, it was same thing, like 18 years old, so it's a little different. Why do I brush my teeth? Cleanse the bones, preserve the soul. I'm not afraid to let them rot and stink and yellow and decay to medallions of detachment. My beard grows, is clipped and shaven, because I want to impress the girls, big-breasted and soft-skinned, women who laugh and are not impressed by me. Gathering in my living room, palace of the mundane, ruled by freaks that I call my friends. All kings and queens ruling each other on a world on loan from logic. I have failed. What used to help me love, I've burnt it, dancing around the fire, offering it to my heart, torn out of my chest, laughing. I tossed it into the flames. I knew no better. Take a ticket, see the freak, ruling his kingdom, brushing his teeth, storing his toothbrush within the hole of his upright chest. So a little different, but I thought it kind of went in there. All right, I got a good one. This is called Ballast. This one's also about 17 or 18 years old. I wrote this in a Staples store, just randomly came to me. Pacing in the aisles, trying to fill it, the mouth with nails or sawdust maybe. Anything to weigh me down securely. Invisible gales wash through the pathways, sweep me like kites or balloons or confetti into the blue sky. Oblivions divide like cancer in the jaw. Black holes that drop to the feet with the weight of their own gravity send me spiraling. I grab hold of metal shells, trying to keep myself on this planet. I'm too light and can feel my blood blown through the sun into that terrible star. But suddenly in the store, jackals behind the pens and notebooks, demons and light fixtures, maggots and lice on the floor hear the call and crawl to my empty bones for me, for weight. Okay. We are the only thing left. We are the only thing left, the remnant, the residue of a failed attempt. There was more one time long ago. Now there are just embers and sawdust on a concrete floor. And even these were only a dream of lonely, stupid men who slept in corners where the universe joins, but they were still oblivious. Nirvana is you. A complacent Buddha sits in the Nepalese sun, and oh, how the stock market shudders centuries later. Cameras are bolted to the telephone poles like God's eyes stapled to monsters, watching all of us squirm at the bottom. How many Buddhas walk here? How many Satans drink coffee, or maybe the gods we created are laughing because we couldn't do it any better? We own new superstitions and zealots, high to the produce aisle. Refrigerator hums like sermons, and salvation is reflected in the grass. This is called Eschatology, Let Us Hear. The pilgrims and ambassadors sit quietly. One tends the fire. There are so many things their brothers could have been. They had so much potential, but now there is only the next evolution to look forward to. And so the pilgrims whisper their final prayer. All right, and I'm going to read one more that I read in the beginning because I like it. And hopefully you can use this one because I think I cut out on this one. And this will be my last one. I failed to extinguish the stars again, those pitiless replicas which burn indifferently to all our suffering. They are light years away, but jealously drip their crooked wax into coffee, sewers, and dreams. That celestial paste, however, holds the universe together, tightly, silently. And against all known logic, even logic joins the heart and the star. Blood star wax runs through solar veins. I want to hate them, but how can I hate my own circulatory system? Stars circulate in his blood with little doors, while little doors are carved into the black of the universe on a summer night for me to crawl through, squeeze through the matter and be born into something new, far away, something that smells of rain and paint and ideas I can't name yet. All right, what do you think?
So, did you have a couple more that you read at the beginning that
Sure.
we can't use? Maybe get those in there also, then we can use them all.
Okay.
Okay.
This is the title poem. Well, not title poem, but this is the first one of the book. It's called Here at the End. There is only and ever was only one. Excuse me, let me start again. Here at the end. There is only and ever was only one way, and that is through the stone, through the concrete, through the steel, through the electrical current, through the rubber, and through the glass, through the blood, and arriving here at this place, at this moment in time. In the beginning, there was nothing, but always with the possibility of something. So it was never nothing. Nothing needed to make that possibility extinct in order to truly be nothing. The possibility of something is teeth, is metal and eyebrows and concrete. And possibility of something is entropy, and it spends itself until nothing is nothing. We are the winding down. We are the results. We are the powder and the crumbs and the ash, the embers on the ground. We are the groans. It won't be long now, I hope. This one's called Whimper. There are only a few workers now, hunched over in offices. Those buildings become their only support for the aging universe. The few send emails and write reports to keep busy, but no one reads them. The employees eat lunch in small groups, but rarely converse. They go home, watch black and white reruns of wood panel televisions, their reward for surviving the smoke and false advertising. And then I'll read one more, I think. Well, I didn't read this one. I'll read, this is a newer one, so I'll read this one. We create geniuses and idiots. We create geniuses and idiots. Methods breed them like a fetus. Greasy membranes are the secret of bureaucracy. I wish these things would fossilize, because they might be a plague in the corner, washed through the gutter. How many more geniuses do you need? How many more celebrities must burn? Where are all the genocides? Siphoned through the sieve? Or perhaps gestating, sleeping, dreaming? There's a hole in the shoe. Whiskey drains past the soul. But these shoes are creased and old, leathery smell wafts in the closet, a universe of wood and dust, a universe unto itself. We need more geniuses and more idiots, and one more fetus to grow a better civilization. Not the one we celebrate now, than the one we celebrate now, which still needs its gods.
And Angelo, your poetry was beautiful, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. But no, I really did enjoy yours. It really was, the imagery was, like I said, it really does evoke this idea of nature and, living in our states, right? Like, I don't know exactly where you live, but I know my area is really rural, and it's just, I don't know, that's a really big thing for me. And so I think you just sort of captured some of that natural beauty of our area too.
Thank you.
So yeah, so it's a big deal for me. That's why I moved back to the East Coast. I was in the Midwest, and I didn't like it out there in like Kansas. And I don't know, reading your poems when you read it, just, I don't know, I just evoked why I love living where I do. So thank you. You did a phenomenal job.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello, Julie. It's good to see your face. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
She's muted. You're
Yeah,
muted.
you need to,
No.
there you go.
Not really. I just enjoyed it. It was I don't think I've ever been to a book launch
Mm.
of poetry. It was very good.
It was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Julie.
When you listen to a reading of poetry, a launch of a poetry book, it's so soul satisfying because you get a bunch of stuff that really you can reflect with immediately. Whereas when you're at a book launch for a novel, you're getting snippets here and snippets there.
Yeah.
It's never near as satisfying as a poetry
Mhm.
launch.
I agree.
And
Absolutely.
thank you, Candace and Carol, also for always taking the time to
Yes,
set these
thank
up.
you.
And,
Mhm.
really appreciate it. Candace, thank you, for everything you've done for me the last 2 years. So really appreciate it.
You're most welcome. You're a great poet, Angelo.
Thank you.
I call you Angelo the Great.
I don't know about that, but thank you. Thank you. And sorry about all my issues. Hopefully you can use some of the later seem to be working. So hopefully you can use
Yeah.
that.
I definitely can. The later stuff seemed
Cool.
you hardly just maybe there was just one little word that
Blip.
went but that's it. It was good the last part.
Perfect.